Hello, everyone. Eric Vignola here with the Frederick Douglass Distinguished Scholars Program, giving my sort of impressions and answering a few questions and giving my thoughts on what I thought of How the World Sees You. Um, I actually really enjoyed the book. I always enjoy sort of personality tests like the Myers-Briggs or personality tests like the Fascination Report from this book, How the World Sees You, that sort of give you a new perspective or a new way to look at yourself or to analyze the actions that you've taken in the past or just sort of provide a new perspective. Just general impressions of whether or not I like the book. I think that if there's a lesson to be taken from it or some sort of message, I would say that aspiring to be the best isn't really the way one should approach becoming a professional or trying to add value. What, the way that I think after reading this book one should try to do that is to be as unique and as themselves as possible. The author talks a lot about how if you're the cheapest or you're the fastest or you're the best in some numerical way, that could always be outsourced or made better or made more efficient or made cheaper by competitors. But nobody can really replace who you are as a person or something unique. So I think that if I took any sort of lesson away from the book, it would be that when I'm developing myself as a professional, that I should not only focus on being very good at what I do, but being unique in how I do it, and to add value in a way that is specific to my character and to my personality, because that's not something that can be easily emulated or outsourced. So I think that I really enjoyed the book, and I would definitely say that that is the lesson that I've taken from it. So the second question to tackle here about the book is what is it, what exactly is my personality archetype, and what are some of the strengths and weaknesses that I've learned about my communication style. So the whole point of the book, How the World Sees You, is that everybody has a style of fascination. Everybody has a way that they get people interested in what they have to say, and they connect with people on some sort of level. Some people connect with people over power. Others do it through trust. Some people do it through emotion. Others through details and planning and logistics. So there's a personality test called the Fascination Report, and after taking the test, the book will give you an archetype, and this archetype is based off of your primary advantage and your secondary advantage. My archetype is the composer. That means that my primary advantage is alert, and my secondary advantage is innovation. Alert people are very detail oriented people. They know how to meet the expectations or demands of people, and they're very in tune with those expectations and demands. They're sort of down in the numbers. They enjoy routine and routine tasks and things that they can master, sort of like that. Innovation people are actually sort of the opposite. People with the primary advantage innovation like to try out new ideas. They don't really thrive in structure. They like to think outside the box, and they don't really stick to convention. So my archetype actually combines these two what seem like diametrically opposed personality types. As far as what I've learned about my strengths from being the composer is that not only do I entertain the possibility of new ideas, um, I'm open to new ideas, and also I know how to implement them and how to decide what is a good idea and what is a bad idea, all while remaining flexible. So innovation and alert in this sense sort of work together. That innovation allows me to think outside the box or be open to change and possibility, while alert allows me to stay on task and sort of not get lost or sidetracked along the way. It keeps being alert helps me keep goals in mind. Basically, I'm able to see possibility and also implement it in a strategic and good way because I'm also a detail oriented and focused person. Now, nobody's perfect, and my pitfalls sort of or my weaknesses when it comes to speaking with people and trying to communicate my ideas would probably be the emotional aspect of it. People who are primary alert, they speak logistically, they speak numbers, they don't really connect with people on an emotional level. That's people with a trust primary advantage can do that. um, so that's something that is definitely a weakness as far as my communication style. I thrive in environments where there's back and forth, there is talk about logistics, and there's talk about facts and how to best implement a solution. And sometimes my communication style can sort of miss that human element. So it's important for me, one, to work on that, work on being able to communicate on a human level and speak to people's emotions and their heart and not just their head. But it's also important that when I build a team, that I surround myself with some people who are primary trust advantage and have a natural inclination to connect with people over emotions and matters of the heart and personal matters. So I would say that those are probably I'm strong because I can speak logistics and I'm open to new possibilities and I can get a job done in an unconventional way. But I'm weak because sometimes in order to get people aboard, because nobody can achieve a solution on their own, in order to get people aboard, I will need to use emotional connections, and sometimes I can fall short in doing that because I'm so focused on just tangible results because I'm the composer. So I think I'm pretty happy with the archetype that I got. It's not what I expected to get, but the more that I sort of think about how I communicate when I feel most comfortable, it definitely makes sense after some introspection. So the third question is how I think that my communication style will affect the way that I advocate or try to challenge some of the unjust, uncivil, or unfair treatment of individuals or groups. So I already spoke to it a little bit in the last question, but the composer gives me the ability. Being the composer gives me the ability to come up with new ideas and be flexible and bring a new perspective to trying to solve a problem, but also make sure that I pay attention to the details to make sure that that solution can actually be reached, so that it's a viable solution. So I'm already trying to do something fairly unique with my career in that I want to use video games to help the under-resourced and the underprivileged. It's sort of a new concept. It's picking up a lot of steam recently about the ability for video games to educate others with their level of interactivity and engagement. So they're a really good avenue for trying to educate people and give them experiences that they might otherwise not have. Why I think being the composer will help me in trying to figure out how to make video games usable as a way to help communities is because video games and the computer science field and really technology in general are sort of in their infancy. They're growing really fast and they're constantly changing and advancements are being made at an exponential rate. So if somebody really wants to get into this field and thrive in this field of technology, they need to be open to new possibilities. They need to be open to new scenarios, changes in technology. They need to be flexible in essence. And one of my advantages is one of my secondary advantages innovation, so that'll help me with that. But it's also important that you don't really get lost in all of look at this great technology, but is it still new technology? Is it actually usable? How long will it take to implement it? Is it efficient? Is it cheap? And all of these are detail and like logistical questions. And my primary advantage is alert. So it's really good that I'm the composer and that I can, on one hand, handle the sort of volatile state that technology finds itself in, where it's constantly changing and constantly improving, and there's constantly a new best practice found or a programming language that takes the coding world by storm or changes the game somehow. But also that I remain focused in that there is a solution here, and these communities still need help, and it's important to remain goal oriented in trying to help these people. And my two advantages really help me to navigate those both of those facts and both of those facets of the technology world and the advocacy world. So last but not least, what else do I think I've gotten from the book, or how else do I want to apply what I've learned from the book? I think that something the author talked about a lot was trying to understand why you are drawn to some people, or why certain people's habits or the way that they speak or communicate their ideas, either really you enjoy it or it rubs you the wrong way. And that's something that she talks a lot about in the book, and something that I haven't really touched on here, but I will now. And so the book talks a lot about archetypes, and everybody has an archetype, and everybody has a style of communication that best fits them and that they're most comfortable in, even if they're not aware of it. And people are naturally like this. People naturally gravitate toward the style of communication that makes them feel most in command, most comfortable, most in control, and this is when people feel the most fascinating. However, some people just have different personality types. Some people just have different styles of communication, and they don't always really mesh together. So I think that moving forward, I'm going to try and keep in mind one, that everybody has a style of communication, and you know, try and get over the gut reaction of like, oh, I don't really like how this person communicates, or I don't really like the habits that they have, and sort of look past it and say like, well, they have a different archetype than I do, and they have a different set of advantages. I wonder if I can learn something from them, or if they would be a good member of my team to round out some of my weaknesses with their strengths. The second thing that I think I would take from the book is that as I move forward in my personal relationships, not just in my professional ones, but in my personal ones, where emotion is even more important than the logistics of why the relationship is valuable to both parties involved. I think it's really important to keep in mind that human element and that emotional element. And I, being alert, I'm constantly thinking about the future, and I'm constantly thinking about, will it work? Is the devil in the details? Will this work out in terms of logistics of where I'll end up or where this person will end up or the things that we want? But I'll try and get past that. Those are definitely useful things to think about, but sometimes it's not always about those things. And I think that I'm going to try and keep in mind the human element a little more as I move forward. So I would probably, to wrap it up, How the World Sees You was a really good book. It gave me a lot of insight. It was really good at explaining the archetype concept and breaking it down, and it definitely gave me a new perspective outside of the traditional personality test like Myers-Briggs. It just gave me new insight on how I can see the world and how others can see me, and sort of the image that I'm putting out there. So I definitely think moving forward, it's important that I work on my weaknesses, and it's also important that I give people the benefit of the doubt and I try and learn from their strengths if we have opposing strengths and weaknesses. Overall, though, I would say that I really enjoyed the book and I would definitely recommend it. I think it's a really good read, and the personality test is very fun to sort of see your archetype and see where your strengths and your weaknesses lie, and sort of how you match up to your friends and your colleagues, if they were to take the test as well. It's always good to have new insight and new information because that's where you grow and that's where you move forward. You get to learn a little bit about yourself. So it was an enjoyable experience and an enjoyable book all around, I would say.